Donald Trump has sealed the deal. He will be the Republican presidential nominee in 2016, after his main rival Ted Cruz dropped out of the race. After months of intense and often bitter campaigning, the battle all came down to Indiana, the Midwestern state known as the Crossroads of America. Mr. Cruz had called this his final firewall, and he knew it was all or nothing. But it proved to be a crushing night for the Texas senator, as Mr. Trump romped to victory in a landslide. Mr. Cruz immediately suspended his campaign. It was a stunning denouement and a shock to many of his supporters, who had expected him to carry on regardless.
We are suspending our campaign.
Mr. Trump seemed taken aback by Mr. Cruz dropping out. In a subdued victory speech at Trump Tower in New York, he appeared to not quite realise the race was over. He was then gracious to Mr. Cruz, calling him one hell of a competitor.
He is a tough, smart guy.
The Republican Party, which has fought tooth and nail to elect anyone but Mr. Trump, declared that he is now the presumptive nominee. Senior figures will rally around him in coming weeks. But Mr. Trump's problems are only just beginning. If he is to win the general election, he must unify the party, and that will be far from easy. It has been the nastiest primary contest in living memory. Mr. Trump descended into the gutter to win it. He attacked the families of his rivals and even mocked their looks. Most of all now, he will need to bury the hatchet with Mr. Cruz and get the votes of his supporters. But there was no sign of Mr. Cruz endorsing him. The bitterness between the two men is deep. That relationship got worse on the final day of campaigning in Indiana. In one of the most bizarre moments of any election, Mr. Trump accused Mr. Cruz's father of spending time with Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Cruz was enraged and called Mr. Trump utterly amoral and a pathological liar. It will be more than difficult for them to patch up their relationship after that. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders pulled off an upset to defeat Hillary Clinton. Mr. Sanders was in ebullient form afterwards, claiming he can still win the nomination. In reality, his chances are extremely slim, but his continued success is starting to damage Mrs. Clinton. Few ever predicted that Mr. Trump would have the Republican nomination wrapped up before Mrs. Clinton secured the Democratic one.